Welcome to the layout, and today's episode is a bit of a description of what I'm doing here. Basically some history about the layout. So I modeled the CN main line between Quebec City and Montreal, as you may know, which the real one is called the Saint-Hyacinthe and Drummondville subdivision. My layout, the Bonaventure et Chambly, is what you would call prototype modeling, which is the actual CN Saint-Hyacinthe and Drummondville subdivision. This is part of the Canadian Eastern Corridor. So I strive to represent as close as possible the prototype within the space available of my layout and using a bit of a modeler's license. So what we're looking at, it's the CN actual map. There are current tracks, and what I model is basically on the south shore of the St. Lawrence. So leaving Quebec City right on top, going south or southwest throughout Drummondville, Saint-Hyacinthe, crossing over into Montreal. So this is the actual CN map. If we transpose the CN main line into a road map, this is what it would look like, so bear with me here. So when we start going from Montreal, which is staging, to Quebec City, which is staging, which is east of Montreal, that's where we start. So A, under the bottom here, that's the island of Montreal, and this is staging in my my layout. And then leaving staging, going to the helix, eventually you end up at where it says B, which is Pointe Saint-Charles and the Victoria Bridge crossing over the St. Lawrence. It's leaving the island to go to the south shore to Saint-Lambert and Longueuil. Now if we continue on following the Trans-Canada Highway, we end up at C, which is Saint-Hyacinthe, the town of Saint-Hyacinthe. So the Saint-Hyacinthe station dates back to 1847 from the Saint Laurent et Atlantique Railway, and later the Grand Trunk as well, and much later to that it's CN. It became CN. So the Saint-Hyacinthe station has been there for quite a long time. And we don't see it on this map, however there's a river, the Yamaska River, that cut across Saint-Hyacinthe, and that goes all the way to the St. Lawrence. Next, it's D. It's a suburb now of Saint-Hyacinthe. It's Saint-Rosalie. Saint-Rosalie is also the division point between the CN Saint-Hyacinthe and CN's Drummondville subdivision. Agricultural area with a grain silo. And we'll keep on moving, going eastward into Drummondville area, which we can see right here under E. Drummondville has also a river that's cutting across it and going into the St. Lawrence. On the main line right here, there's another bridge crossing over that Francois River. That's how it's called. Leaving Drummondville, we'll keep going eastward, and we end up across Trois-Rivières, and that's Dave-Louville right here. And it also has a river going into the St. Lawrence. It's called the Becancour River, also in the layout. And then eventually we end up in Quebec City, top right hand corner, where it says G like golf. Basically, Quebec City is staging, so you're going down the helix back into a different staging, the eastern staging area. So this is the actual map of the prototype that I use on my layout. Of course, it's all about space consideration. The layout room is roughly 19.5 feet long by 14.5 feet wide. Around the wall, walk around layout with a center peninsula and the helix that links the main layout, the upper deck basically, to the second level, which is underneath, which is staging. So about operation for the what I call the road crew and also dispatch, we follow some prototype guidelines, not to the letter, but just to give you an idea. So Montreal subdivision, which includes Pointe Saint-Charles, which is in the on the layout, correction, followed by the Saint-Hyacinthe subdivision. That's the one I model mostly. So going eastward from Montreal, from the bottom here, we can see that Montreal is staging, of course. We got Victoria Bridge, that's right here from the real one. Follow that, eventually we end up in Saint-Hyacinthe, Montbec, which is important, especially for switching, and Sainte-Rosalie. And here it gives you to the right, and this is, of course, the real one. It gives you the miles, the direction, the fact that it's CTC, and other valuable information. The Drummondville subdivision, the division point at Sainte-Rosalie, so it's right in the bottom right here. Moving forward, the next town that is on the layout, that's right here, Drummondville, followed by Dave-Louisville, and followed by Quebec City. So if we look at this into detail from the CN timetable, roughly my era, what we can see here, it's westward train. C'est en français and is in English as well. So the subdivision, the Saint-Hyacinthe subdivision, what we're looking for here, it's what's represented again on the layout. Sainte-Rosalie, Sainte-Rosalie Junction, Montbec with information. So we got Saint-Hyacinthe and also Bridge Street, which somewhat the location of Victoria Bridge. So the footnote, the rules, or important notice as far as that sub, like it says for Saint-Hyacinthe, all train must obtain clearance. So that's why we have a dispatcher for the layout. ABS and CTC special features, of course I have neither on the layout at this point. The signals that I do have currently on the layout is to be hooked up to the switch for switch position. However, for operation purposes, permission is required from the dispatcher to move from one point to the next, a clearance point. So we got Sainte-Rosalie Junction, Saint-Hyacinthe as well. So the dispatcher may use his discretion to be as close or not to the actual information. Interlocking, especially important for Victoria Bridge. Track designation, as you can see right here, what's allowed, what's not allowed, clearance required to move. It says authority for trains or engine to perform switching north or south track on Victoria Bridge will be given by the movement director, or in this case it's dispatcher. And of course there's limits for heaviest car permitted, etc. And that's part of JMRI printout. It gives you the total tonnage of your train. I have no train on my layout that's in excess of 263,000 pounds. Drummondville subdivision. Again, we have Dave-Louisville right here, just as in the layout. We got Drummondville. And Saint-Rosalie. Clearance is required when movement between Montbec and Saint-Rosalie. So that's the actual track, the industrial track on the layout that's off the siding at Saint-Hyacinthe. It's uncontrolled to go in, to go out. Speaking of making this as real as possible, this hopper that's sitting on one of the industrial track is made by True Line Trains from quite a while ago. And it turns out that the real one is made in Ontario, in Hamilton. Drummondville, of course, and other information. CTC special feature, again, Rule 264, etc. We use slightly different rules, but we still need, dispatch still need to give you clearance, and you need special authorization to move to a certain area, pass a switch, move a switch, etc. Dave Louville, I have to do a standing or pull-by inspection, deciding when that's available or that's applicable. So somebody that's doing switching at the Dave Louville industry, for example, because the lead eventually goes into the main line. If there's a train going the opposite side, for operation purposes on the layout, they would stop and give a visual inspection as a train go by. Speed, again, express train, that would be especially applicable for the LRC or the FPA4 for Via Rail. The layout is built for operation, meaning a bunch of people gather together and we put the layout through its pace, as well, the prototype would do. And to do so I use JMRI. And this is a quick list of some of the trains that you would see, or that would actually occur during an operating session. So we have three local switcher, the Drummondville, Sainte-Rosalie, and Saint-Hyacinthe switcher. And on top of that, there's 4 freight trains that are eastbound and 4 freight trains that are westbound. And the eastbound trains are odd numbered, like 101, 301, 501, 701. And the westbound train are even number, such as 202, 402, 602, and 802. That's a way for the dispatcher to know which way the trains are going. So we do have a dispatcher, 8 freight train in total, 3 switcher, and 2 passenger train via rail, 1 east and 1 west. When I'm talking about operation in JMRI, I took a short train here that's not extremely busy to give you an idea. So this manifest, which the actual train engineer would get, is for CN 101 eastward. It departs track 1 in staging in Montreal, and it arrives in track 6 in staging in Quebec City. And that's for the Saint-Hyacinthe Drummondville subdivision, as it says. So it tells you to pick up your engine and hook up to all those cars. That will be done ahead of time before an op session. The trains, if possible, will be pre-blocked as well. So this one's leaving staging to go to the helix with 6 cars, so very short train and a caboose, 325 feet long, 339 tons. And then it leaves, it goes by Pointe Saint-Charles, cross the Victoria Bridge, all under dispatch control, and end up in Saint-Hyacinthe. And the first thing this train would do, or will not do, at Saint-Hyacinthe Yard West, there's no work for it to be done, which is great. And then it does some switching at the Vachon plant. So it tells you the arrival time. Arrival, departure, switching time, that's just for dispatch to get an idea who's going first, basically. In any case, it says that once you're in the Vachon plant, to pick up the following cars. In green, it's always to pick up, and red, it's always set out or drop off. So it's going to pick up a hopper, a reefer, and a boxcar. And it tells you their length, if they're loaded or empty, where they're situated under location to the right. The red one right underneath, right here, it says, hey, while you're there, drop off or set out 1 car. And the road number, it's CN. This is the road number 231130. It's a mechanical reefer. It's silver, 50 feet in length, and put it to the Vachon South track. And of course there's a diagram that tells the crew which track is north, which is south, which is east, which is west. And then it departs Saint-Hyacinthe, the Vachon plant, with 8 cars this time, so 2 more. So 437 feet long and 458 tons of weight. And then it goes to the opposite side, the east side of Saint-Hyacinthe, to switch the recycling plant. And has to pick up the central Vermont boxcar, pick it up at the recycling track south and drop off a 40-footer boxcar to the same track. And then it departs again with 8 cars. This time slightly longer, 447 feet long, and heavier, 521 tons. And the crew under dispatch clearance will go eventually to the Sainte-Rosalie Co-op silo to do some switching as well. And they'll pick up a hopper full of grain. This one is on the south track. Well, there's only one track there, so that helps. And we'll drop off or set off another hopper grain that's actually empty. So it's picking up the loaded one from the grain silo and dropping off an empty one to take its place. So when it's leaving again with 8 cars, 447 feet long, and even heavier, 584 tons this time. So the train makes its way, eventually crossing over the bridge at the Francois River, entering into Drummondville, and it goes into the industrial track to switch the Drummondville Dassault plant. That's a furniture making plant. In this case, it doesn't have to do much, actually. The only thing it's going to do, it's going to move one boxcar from one of the tracks in the plant, the north track, to the south track. Actually, that could have been done by the Drummondville switcher. If that's the case, this will be scratched off their list, because that would be another duty. So the train depart again, same length, same number of cars, same weight. And is there any more work after that? The Drummondville yard or Dave Louville, there's nothing else on this manifest. Therefore, they're done. They're going to go back into the helix, into the staging, but this time the east staging, which represent Quebec City, and they will arrive with 8 cars, 447 feet long, 584 tons. They might take another train, this one a westbound one, or they may be assigned to a passenger train instead. So that was a quick overview of the layout, how it's set up as far as proto-modeling, upcoming operation. So I hope this was helpful and informative.